Whispers spread that his name was Jonah, a quiet soul who always spoke softly and followed every command without question, right up until the moment they auctioned off his beloved wife, Ruth, treating her as mere livestock beneath the scorching heat of a Louisiana afternoon. He stood there, witnessing her desperate pleas echoing his name while the pale-faced bidders yelled out their offers, their cruel chuckles overpowering her anguished cries. In that instant, a profound shift occurred within him, not driven by insanity, but by a sudden, piercing insight. The oppressors assumed he was shattered beyond repair, expecting him to fade away like so many others before him. Yet, as twilight descended, the individuals who had vied for her possession began meeting gruesome ends. One found lifeless with a cord around his neck, another submerged in water until his last breath escaped, and yet another suspended from the very spire of his place of worship. Moreover, the mysterious figure who aided Jonah in his quest turned out to be far more complex than he initially appeared. For in a society constructed upon shackles and subjugation, Jonah discovered a fierce form of liberation, one that scorched all it encountered. They had traded his heart's companion for mere coins, and he ensured that each participant in that transaction comprehended the genuine toll it exacted. Prior to delving deeper into this tale, share in the comments the location from which you're tuning in, and remember to hit that subscribe button, as the narrative slated for tomorrow is truly unmissable. The relentless rays of the Louisiana sun pounded down relentlessly, transforming the town center into an unbearable oven of despair. Jonah sensed perspiration trickling along his spine as he positioned himself next to Ruth, their fingertips brushing in what could very well be their final connection. That subtle contact represented their entire world in that moment. No spoken phrases could mend the unfolding tragedy. The auctioneer, Silas Granger, paraded around Ruth with the arrogance of a proud fowl surveying his domain. His tone resonated through the assembly, laced with rehearsed allure. "Behold, esteemed sirs, a true gem possessing talents both in the home and in more sophisticated pursuits." He motioned toward Ruth as though displaying exquisite porcelain, capable of literacy sufficient for overseeing domestic finances, crafts garments as if the art were innate to her being. And then, dropping his volume to a dramatic hush, assured to produce robust offspring. Ruth maintained her gaze fixed downward, her expression devoid of emotion, yet Jonah noticed the faint quiver in her palms, the sole indicator of the dread consuming her from within. They had shared 7 years of union, wedded clandestinely under the ancient magnolia on the estate grounds. Their owner, Caleb Ward, had permitted the ceremony not out of benevolence, but because it motivated Jonah to labor with greater intensity. Presently, Ward lingered at the periphery, his limbs folded across his torso, consulting his timepiece as if this were nothing more than a minor interruption in commerce. That very morning, Jonah had implored him, dropping to the earth in supplication. "I beseech you, sir, allow me to toil extended hours, deduct from my provisions, whatever it takes." Ward had regarded him with the indifference one might afford a faulty implement. "Circumstances are challenging, Jonah. Retaining surplus domestic help is impractical when the crops demand attention. It's merely transactional, devoid of sentiment." Merely transactional, as though dismantling his existence equated to a simple entry in a ledger. The offers commenced with the supervisor from the adjacent property, Crenshaw. He elevated his broad palm. $20 for this female. The local healer, Dr. Edwin Carter, renowned for his analytical fascination with the physiques of the enslaved, offered a faint grin. $30. She could assist with precision in my medical procedures. Jonah's torso constricted. He was aware of the fates befalling those under Carter's care. They emerged altered, assuming they survived at all. The clergyman, Josiah Pike, hoisted his sacred text as a symbol of his intent. 40. Divine guidance urges me to redeem this unfortunate spirit. Murmurs rippled through the onlookers. The females, redeemed by the preacher, frequently bore offspring with unusually fair complexions. Subsequently, an elegant tone sliced through the gathering. 100. Attention shifted to Charles Renard, a trader from New Orleans. His refined attire and cane adorned with precious metal distinguished him from the rural landowners. His gaze lingered on Ruth with invasive scrutiny. 100, he reiterated, for premium goods. Silas Granger struggled to conceal his enthusiasm. 100 from Mr. Renard. Are there further propositions? Jonah etched each countenance into his memory. Crenshaw with his flushed, protruding throat. Dr. Carter with his detached, evaluative stare. Reverend Pike with his insincere beam. And Renard, polished and assured, a hunter cloaked in luxury. Proceeding once, Granger proclaimed. Jonah surged ahead. No, his grasp encircled Granger's neck. For a singular, vivid instant, he sensed the pulse racing beneath his digits. Then agony erupted across his skull. He collapsed onto the timber stage, savoring the metallic tang of blood. Subdue that beast, a voice commanded. Coarse grips seized him. Metal restraints dug into his flesh. Through hazy vision, he observed Ruth extending toward him, her wails piercing the turmoil. Jonah, Jonah. The mallet descended with the finality of a tomb ceiling. Acquired by Mr. Charles Renard for $100. Renard flung a hide satchel to Granger, who snatched it deftly. A pair of men hauled Ruth to an awaiting cart. She resisted, her soles skidding across the soil, her cries fracturing as she invoked Jonah's name. I'll locate you, Jonah bellowed, crimson flowing from his lacerated mouth. I vow it. A heavy boot collided with his side, robbing him of air. Ward loomed above, features contorted in fury. Your outburst diminished her value by 50, he snarled. You'll compensate for that in the labor fields. Amid the pandemonium, Jonah spotted a figure navigating the fringes. An individual with warm-toned complexion, attired more elegantly than typical for someone of his heritage in this region, locked gazes with him briefly. Then the enigmatic person knelt nearby, ostensibly adjusting his footwear, while discreetly placing an item into Jonah's restrained grasp. Endure, the man murmured, so faintly only Jonah perceived it. He then dissolved into the throng like vapor. The enforcers hauled Jonah to a confinement area behind the platform. They hurled him onto the earthen floor, his frame throbbing with torment. Crimson seeped from his nostrils and lips. His sides protested with each inhalation, yet his digits clung to the stranger's offering. A creased fragment of parchment. As evening deepened and the watchmen slumbered near their illuminations, Jonah delicately unfurled the missive. By the wavering glow, he deciphered the elegantly scripted words that would alter his destiny forever. Assistance in reclaiming her is available, provided you can endure the price demanded. Darkness enveloped the detention enclosures like a veil. The sentinels reclined against a proximate trunk, an incomplete vessel of spirits shared between them. Jonah remained motionless, each respiration igniting discomfort in his torso. His arms bore raw marks from the bonds, though the custodian had detached them upon securing him in the enclosure. No point expending quality restraints on flawed merchandise, he'd grumbled. The message rustled in Jonah's grasp. He'd examined it repeatedly, grappling with the proposition from the unknown ally. Aid in recovering Ruth, yet what burden would it impose? A subtle rustle emerged from the obscurity beyond the barrier, the drag of footwear on soil. Jonah stiffened, bracing for further punishment, still drawing breath. A tone scarcely audible inquired. Jonah inched toward the boundary. Peering through a fissure in the planks, he discerned the identical fair-complexioned gentleman from the sail. In proximity, Jonah noted his maturity, perhaps 4 decades, with vigilant eyes that overlooked naught. Identify yourself, Jonah hissed. Isaiah Bell. The figure scanned toward the dormant guardians. Our window is narrow. They'll transport you to the estate at dawn's first light. What motivates your intervention? Isaiah's visage partially concealed in gloom. To extract you from this predicament this very evening. Jonah clutched the barriers. Why extend aid to me? I possess knowledge of her destination. Isaiah drew nearer. Moreover, each liberated individual diminishes their workforce by 1. A spark of optimism ignited in Jonah's core, sharp as a blade's edge. How can I place faith in you? Isaiah's grin lacked warmth. You can't. Remaining ensures eternal separation from Ruth. I'm presenting an opportunity, however slender. The toll, Jonah recalled the correspondence. Isaiah's gaze intensified. Details, identities, locales, all insights regarding Ward's enterprise, his buyers, his associates, your what? Combating the commerce in captives. Through my unique methods. Isaiah surveyed the sentinels once more. Ideal in various commodities, Jonah. Knowledge ranks as the most precious. A canine yelped afar. The protector shifted yet remained unconscious. They'll pursue with trackers, Jonah cautioned. Isaiah retrieved a diminutive container from his garment. Not if their senses are confounded. I've prepared accordingly. He indicated the rear of the enclosure. That portion of the partition is decayed. I inspected it previously. A forceful strike could shatter it. Jonah paused briefly. The vision of Ruth's forcible removal seared his thoughts. Prepare in 5 minutes. Isaiah affirmed and receded into the murk. Jonah advanced stealthily to the enclosure's back. The timber indeed deteriorated, softened by persistent moisture. He supported himself against the opposing surface and propelled his foot at the vulnerable spot. Agony surged through his battered form, but he suppressed a moan. Another thrust, followed by more. On the 4th attempt, the material fractured. A final vigorous blow created an aperture sufficient for passage. Jonah glanced at the guardians. Still oblivious, heads drooped. He maneuvered through, splinters snagging his attire. Isaiah materialized beside him silently. Apply this to your garb and flesh. It's a blend of resin and spice. Disorients the pursuers. The concoction stung Jonah's senses as he spread it across his limbs. Isaiah mirrored the action, then directed toward a cluster of tall trees delineating the marshland. Remain crouched. Trail me. They progressed through the gloom, stooping behind dwellings and storage structures. The grounds were hushed save for sporadic avian calls. Upon attaining the woodland, Isaiah halted. The bog serves as our ally this eve, he murmured. Pale folk dread it. We need not. Jonah had toiled these territories throughout his existence. He comprehended secure routes, hazardous depths. Aim for the waterway, he suggested. I know a crossing point. They ventured further into the forested wetland. The terrain softened, then saturated. Soon, they traversed shallow pools, treading cautiously to minimize ripples. The marsh's symphony surrounded them. Amphibians, winged pests, intermittent plunges of larger entities in deeper expanses. From afar, the alert finally activated. A chime pealed from the residents, succeeded by exclamations and the howls of trackers. They won't venture deeply into the mire after sunset, Isaiah noted. Yet we must persist. For extended periods, they journeyed, alternating between strides and swims through passages clogged with aquatic flora. The spicy mixture perplexed the hounds, though Jonah detected their distant wails. His physique protested from the assault and flight, but terror propelled him onward. Approaching daybreak, they arrived at the stream. Fatigued, they slumped onto a modest elevation of arid soil, shielded by an enormous overhanging branch. The canines had quieted, temporarily secure. Isaiah extracted preserved flesh and grain bread from a carrier. Consume. Strength is essential. Jonah accepted the sustenance, abruptly conscious of his famine. Our destination, New Orleans. Isaiah gazed across the ebony liquid. Renard transported her there. He maintains a trade depot by the docks, though he possesses additional holdings. His timbre grew stern, notorious for amassing exquisite items. Jonah's palms compressed into balls. Should he lay a finger on her, proceed gradually, Isaiah cautioned. Initially, survival to arrival. Subsequently, pinpoint her precise location. And thereafter, Isaiah appraised him, contingent upon your resolve. The initial radiance of morning grazed the horizon, converting the stream from obsidian to metallic sheen. In the emerging illumination, Jonah observed the abrasions and contusions on his limbs from the nocturnal trek. Minor expenditures. The amphibians chorused in the enveloping obscurity, a rhythm syncing with Jonah's pulse. He retrieved the dampened, blurred note, the pledge of support and its unspecified demand. As long as she draws breath, I'll recover her, Jonah affirmed, resolute. Should she perish, I'll inter them all. Isaiah observed silently, evaluating Jonah's potential as an instrument. The waterway continued its course, bearing discarded foliage toward the city and Ruth. The heavens transitioned from ebony to indigo to amber as daylight emerged over the marshy woodlands. Isaiah roused Jonah from uneasy slumber. Movement required, he stated, presenting a parcel of attire. Don these. The garments were unadorned yet pristine, a pale fabric top, somber leggings, and a faded waistcoat. Superior to prior possessions. Today portray my attendant, Isaiah instructed. Avert your gaze. Utter only if addressed. Observers perceive anticipated roles. They traversed for 60 minutes along the stream's margin until encountering a dirt path. Isaiah emitted a melodic signal, and shortly a carriage materialized from the curve. The operator, an elderly figure with hide-like epidermis, acknowledged wordlessly. My relative, Isaiah clarified. He supplies elite residences in the metropolis thrice weekly. The vehicle bore partial cargo of produce, vibrant crimson fruits, verdant legumes, golden gourds. Isaiah and Jonah ascended the rear, concealing beneath vacant course bags. The aroma of soil and harvest enveloped them. City enforcers inspect transports at primary routes, Isaiah confided as motion commenced. Yet they seldom scrutinize provisions meticulously. Sustenance is universal. The expedition spanned hours. Jonah's form throbbed from prior ordeal, but his focus anchored on Ruth. Injured, terrified, believing abandonment, this Renard, Jonah murmured. His nature, Isaiah's countenance shadowed. Affluent, influential, views all as purchasable, he faltered. Accumulates aesthetic treasures, artworks, furnishings, individuals. Humans aren't objects, Jonah grated. To figures like Renard, they are. The carriage decelerated upon nearing urban fringes. Voices of inspectors verifying documents, interrogating. Jonah restrained respiration. Then advancement resumed. Metropolitan clamor amplified, vehicles clattering on stone paths, merchants hawking, remote chimes from harbor vessels. The transport halted multiple times, distributing goods to opulent kitchens. At each, Jonah and Isaiah stayed obscured. Eventually, the driver rapped the side twice. Signal. This locale, Isaiah breathed. Renard's domain. They emerged from concealment. The driver provided crates of produce. Rear access in circles. Upon completion, depart independently. Isaiah concurred, appreciation conveyed. Jonah hoisted the container and shadowed him through ornate barriers into a landscaped area adorned with blooming shrubs and sculptures. The dwelling loomed immense, ivory pillars, expansive panes, broad terrace encircling the facade. Jonah's pulse halted. Upon the terrace perched Ruth. She donned azure satin that captured dawn's gleam, her tresses styled unfamiliarly. She appeared transformed, save her gaze unmistakably Ruth's, unfettered, unsupervised, merely seated, perusing a volume as if reciting there. Proceed, Isaiah urged. Avoid fixation. They conveyed the items to the culinary space, where a preparer scarcely acknowledged before dismissing. Exiting via service portal, Isaiah confided, This eve, post-sunset, I'll generate a diversion at the entrance while you seek her. Time dragged eternally. They concealed in a forsaken structure near the wharves, anticipating obscurity. Jonah strode restlessly. Anomalous, he declared. She seemed at ease. Facades deceive, Isaiah responded, particularly in abodes like Renard's. As twilight arrived, they revisited the residence. Illuminations emanated from numerous apertures. Melodies wafted internally, a keyboard rendering melancholic notes. Renard entertains visitors tonight, Isaiah observed. Ideal opportunity. I'll ignite a minor blaze in the animal quarters. Minimal harm, sufficient distraction. 10 minutes for retrieval. Isaiah vanished into obscurity. Jonah tallied to 100, then infiltrated the grounds to the prior service ingress. Unsecured. Internally, the corridor vacant. Staff occupied with festivities. He navigated soundlessly, attuned to Ruth's timbre. Recalling her morning position, a connected chamber likely existed. Discovered a modest lounge overlooking Flora. There, solitary by the pane, Ruth stood, still in azure satin. Lamplight revealed no injuries, no abuse. Yet upon sighting him, her complexion blanched in alarm. Jonah, she breathed, retreating. Departure impossible. Exit immediately. He advanced, limbs extended. Rescue mission. Evacuation now. She denied, quivering miscomprehension. His actions toward you unharmed, she interjected, timbre fracturing, are packed. Jonah immobilized. Packed. Ruth's vision brimmed with sorrow. Ward intended vending us. Renard desired solely me. Ward planned your transfer to Delta Sugarcane. She lowered. Survival there spans mere bienniums. Comprehension emerged gradually, dreadful as dawn over carnage. I negotiated with Renard, she proceeded. Voluntary acceptance here, sans resistance or flight. Counterpart, he acquires your bond from Ward, vending to Isaiah Bell. Isaiah. Jonah sensed reality skewing. He procured me for liberation, Ruth clarified. Arrangement stipulated. Isaiah facilitates escapes. Renard aware overlooks, provided I remain. Outcries erupted from residents' front. Diversion initiated. Depart, Ruth implored. Renard discovers a cord voids, he'll pursue lethally. Refusal sands you, her palms on his breast. Choice for your survival, honor my offering. Footfalls resounded nearby. Ruth propelled him to auxiliary exit. Flee, beseech, presently secure. Ruth, adoration, she breathed, escape. Jonah staggered through auxiliary passages, psyche swirling. Ruth exchanged self for him. Isaiah acquired for freedom. Incoherent. He exited rear portal, traversing grounds. Atmosphere dense, respiration labored. Near barrier, magnolia loomed, petals luminous in gloom. Jonah crumpled beneath, brow against textured trunk. Ruth's declaration reverberated. Choice for life. Sorrow morphed darker, edged with ferocity. No mere grief. Indignation at existence compelling such decision. Obscurity elapsed solemnly, laden with mourning. The magnolia bore testimony as Jonah lingered under its expansive limbs, spine to rugged bark, focus on pale blooms radiant in shadows. Morning unfolded gradually, ashen roseate aureate, avians initiated melodies. Moisture amassed on turf in Jonah's form, unmoving. Isaiah located him at sun's emergence over woodlands, approached warily, bearing provisions and hydration vessel. Nourish, he urged, kneeling. Jonah averted gaze. Purchaser. Isaiah affirmed gradually. Indeed, concealment reason, trustworthy if revealed. Isaiah proffered vessel. Majority resent transaction, albeit to emancipation. Jonah imbibed profoundly, swiping lips. Vision reddened arid, as if moisture evaporated nocturnally. Ruth orchestrated, Isaiah elucidated. Approached me initially, sought aid. Aware my endeavors. Selfless affection. Currently ensnared, Jonah rasped. Existing as possession. Liberation forthcoming, Isaiah assured. Allow planning, no. Jonah arose abruptly. Extracted blade from sash pilfered from Renard's culinary. Terminated awaiting bestowed liberty. Henceforth seize it. Prior to Isaiah's intervention, Jonah faced magnolia incising pale exterior. Blade penetrated, exposing darker interior. Completion revealed solitary inscription. Ruth, Isaiah breathed. Ruth, Jonah verified. Elevated gaze to illuminating firmament. Divine testimony. Each bidder on spouse perishes by my grasp. Each utters her prior demise. Isaiah immobilized, witnessing metamorphosis. Former subdued individual vanished. Emerged resolute, perilous entity. Commence whom? Isaiah queried eventually. Crenshaw, initial offerer. Jonah's digits bald. Voice echoes. 20 for hands, delicate. Isaiah contemplated. He could depart, absolve involvement in vendetta. Yet Jonah's conviction, justified outrage, anchored him. Pursuit entails irrevocability, Isaiah cautioned meticulously. Comprehension. Irrevocable since block placement. Isaiah concurred singularly. Extracted folded sheet from attire. Anticipated. Jonah unfolded. Interior sketch territory, quartet sites labeled. Acquisition, archives maintained, Isaiah explained. Transaction logs, notices, accounts. Insight empowers, these bidders. Jonah examined diagram tracing indicators. Crenshaw, Carter, Pike, Renard. Crenshaw accessible, Isaiah noted. Imbibes at Crimson Canine nightly, collapses rear outbuilding intoxicated. This eve, Isaiah's demeanor somber. Preparations occupied daylight. Isaiah guided to marsh refuge, elevated hut above murky depths. Internals stocked nourishment, armaments, garb. Facilitate flights, Isaiah detailed, displaying blades, occasionally necessitates conflict. Jonah chose bone-handled curve, balance fitting. As twilight neared, donned ebony attire, darkened visages with soot. Isaiah directed to concealed vessel amid foliage. Jointly launched, boarded. Tavern upstream, Isaiah confided, paddle extended. Aquatic approach minimizes visibility. They glided soundlessly through deepening dusk. Sole auditory paddle immersion. Luminescent insects flickered. Amphibian vocalized reeds. Jonah's consciousness Ruth dominated. Initial encounter grin, tender caress. Field hymns. Then recollection azure garb urging departure. Touched sash blade reassuring solidity. Vow enacted. Regression impossible. Vessel advanced northward, Isaiah's adept navigation. Final luminescence vanished, yielding celestial points and lunar sliver for guidance. Jonah's digits outlined stained armament. Eyes sealed, names recited devotionally. Crenshaw, Carter, Pike, Renard. Each pledge, each demise. Warm gusts traversed sugarcane expanses of hawthorn grounds. Fronds murmured, harmonious with hovering pests in dense midday atmosphere. Celestial orb descended, elongating silhouettes across earthen trail, traversed by sable figures bearing coarse pouches. Recollect, Isaiah confided nearing barriers. Joseph identity. Silence unless prompted. Dialogue mine. Jonah assented, gaze lowered as pale supervisor neared. Pulse accelerated, visage impassive. Purpose? Man demanded, palm on firearm. Isaiah produced wrinkled document, consignment for Crenshaw. Fresh hide wares from urban artisan, order documented. Supervisor skimmed forgery, gestured passage. Storage rear grand residence. Hasten not. They proceeded leisurely, beyond plots where captives stooped over crops, severing with arc blades. Perspiration drenched despite waning sun. Mounted overseer observed, lash ready, Jonah's mandible clenched. Familiar toil evoked shoulder twinge. Steady, Isaiah breathed. Proximity. Storage shadowed manor, lavish ivory edifice, pillars, verandas. Adjacent modest dwelling Crenshaw's, superior to distant quarters. Await here, Isaiah directed entry. Crenshaw inventories twilight pre-tavern. Aroma leather, leaf, metallic implements. Position behind casks, pouches revealed cordage, blade. Upon arrival, protocol known, Jonah interrupted. Timbre stable, gaze fervent, averting Isaiah's. Lingered as exterior shifted amber to violet. Chimes signaled cessation. Voices penetrated, commands, implements stowed. Footfalls neared, sturdy souls. Portal groaned, Crenshaw entered. Bulky, ruddy, substantial palms. Strap cinched girth, fastener dim. Consignment. Scanned, late arrival, Jonah surged, Isaiah scarcely perceived. Crenshaw silhouetted, then throttled rearward obscurity, palm muffled outcry. Recollect, Jonah breathed earward. Crenshaw's orbs protruded. Thrashed, Jonah unyielding, limb constricting airway. Me, Jonah persisted, eerily serene. Auction trio days prior, parish center. Awareness illuminated Crenshaw's vision. Dread supplanted bewilderment. Spouse, Jonah stated. Initial bidder. 20 for hands, voiced. Isaiah secured portal, dimness enveloping. Motionless observed Jonah's compression. Utter designation, Jonah commanded, easing palm marginally. Unrecollect, Ruth, Jonah supplied. Designation, Ruth. Mercy, Crenshaw pleaded, rasp. Funds, Jonah unaltered. Utter, Ruth, Crenshaw gasped, designation, Ruth. Excellent, Jonah assented. Then unfastened strap swiftly. Leather liberated hiss. Prior outcry, looped neck tautened. Crenshaw flailed, soles pounding soil, digits raking constrictor. Jonah steadfast, observing vitality ebb bulging orbs, under 2 minutes. Motions diminished, ceased, form slackened. Aid relocation, Jonah toneless. Isaiah paused, advanced. Bundled in vacant sack, conveyed rear exit, obscurity veiled. Ditch bordering estate. Herein Isaiah breathed, submerged muddy depths. Precipitation tomorrow drifts downstream. Intoxicated mishap presumed. Jonah concurred, obscured, departed undetected. Midnight, vessel concealed. Obsidian flow mirrored fragments celestial, lunar. Jonah knelt margin, immersed palms chill. Current cleansed residue creases, nails. Reflected visage altered, rigid, frigid. Once tender Ruthward, now void. Isaiah observed, emotions blended. Witness terminations, defense, desperation, ire. This methodical, vowed execution. Singular eradicated, Jonah stated averted. Trio remain. Isaiah silent. Uncertain fear or allegiance to forged entity. Magnolia pledge initiated inexorable, potentially devouring duo. Louisiana warmth intensified, shrouding wetlands humid mantle. Sugarcane elevated, verdant crests undulating sparse gusts. Fields hummed final harvest. Perspiration pests. Jonah, Isaiah navigated cautiously, nocturnal motion, diurnal concealment. Evaded settlements, trails, pursued sinuous channels linking estates vascularly. Proximity, Isaiah declared securing vessel route. Carter beyond elevation. Jonah assented, impassive. Post-Crenshaw subdued, concentrated. Initial fury solidified, patient chill. Physician oversees clinic trio estates, Isaiah unfolded chart, resides rear. Attends pale captives disparately, elaborate, Jonah queried. Isaiah darkened. Speculation experiments captives. Disease study pretext, curiosity satisfaction. Jonah twisted internally. Ruth ledgered. Indeed. Bid hands, ideal samples. Isaiah paused, recall Renard acquisition. Midnight awaited plantation approach. Modest abode adjoined extended facility. Solitary illumination pane, amber lawnward. Path vigil, Isaiah breathed. Ledger retrieval. Jonah infiltrated unsecured. Dim save adjacent lantern. Quarters. Racks, jars, vials, central slab stained. Navigated furnishings, corner bureau. Extracted hide tome, records. Scan dim. Entries, mononyms, traits. Male sturdy dorsal, fever resilient. Female reproductive, pox recovered. Reduced components, ailments, intrigue. Then Ruth scripted neatly. Female superior palms, consumption resistant potential. Struck notation. Sample relocated northward preliminary assessment. Compensation obtained. Jonah gripped. Northward, not Renard. Creek rear. Confronted Carter. Tall, slender, lenses nasal, robe nightwear, tresses disheveled. Identity, lantern elevated. Intrusion, Jonah sealed tome replaced. Carter recognized. Auction assailant. Spouse exceptional palms. Designation Ruth, Jonah quiet. Carter retreated. Scientific pursuit, harmless intent. Examination singular, resale north. Baltimore institution. Study, Jonah echoed. Carter babbled accelerating, healer, aid yours, research vital. Jonah seized robe, hauled exterior. Carter resisted, Jonah firm, begged outdoors, funds, locate aid. Isaiah widened captive. Plan deviation, sold studied animal, forced trenchward, struggled realization. Comprehend not, work preserves, submerged. Carter splashed, lenses lost. Ruth scriptural, Jonah held submersion edge. Flood narrative, Carter slipped mud. Waters engulfed, creatures perished. Isaiah grasped, cease. Vengeance condemns. Jonah surfaced, momentary gasp. Condemned already. Resubmerged, motions faded. Released, floated prone. Departure urgent. Auditory risk. Gates widened, surge overflowed. Accident illusion. Inspection slip. Dawn hints escaped. Water bore lenses canalward. Atmosphere pure, Jonah death-scented. Familiar. Emotion absent, satisfaction nil, relief none, horror lacking. Certainty path pursued, terminus. Duo eliminated, duo pending. Summer yielded autumn's mild embrace. Aureate illumination sieved shedding foliage. Atmosphere initial chill post-humidity. Harvest nearing completion. Fields active cutting, processing pre-winter. Jonah, Isaiah embarked northward vessel, mingling workers, voyagers. Jonah concealed, brim low. Post-Carter, rumors vengeful apparition. Unlinked quiet observer shoreline. St. Martinville imminent, Isaiah quiet beside. Pike sermon's pale sanctuary, Jonah silent. Gap widened each termination. Isaiah wearied gaze companionward. Sanctuary non-resident, dwelling squareward. Evening's solitary devotion chapel. Sources, Jonah queried. Networks, confidence bestowed. Not mine, Jonah observed. Statement. Alteration adverse. Rivercraft birthed pre-sunset. Town French architecture central plaza. Sanctuary terminals, spire elevated rooftops accusatory. Lodged peripheral, modest chamber artisan rear. Dawn, Jonah coarse garb, stables adjacent. Employed unquestioned. Labor harvest festivities. Stable vantage, Pike's resonant rehearsal audible pains. Terms wafted. Pauline doctrine, subordinates submit masters trembling. Divine structure societal linkage. Jonah mucked, groomed, memorized routines. Habitual, dawn rise, oration, midday residence, twilight sanctuary preparation darkward. Sabbath, Jonah rear sanctuary cap clutched amid sparse akin attendees. Viewed Pike elevated, sparse silver tresses, extended beard. Oration filled obedience order. Divine hierarchies. Inferiors serve superiors angelic lordward. Disruption chaos, defiance celestial. Assembly affirmed. Jonah catalogued approvers. Nightfall town hushed, windows dimmed. Jonah departed lodging. Isaiah impeded. Abstain. Reversible, Jonah regarded. Impossible. Sanctuary lateral unsecured. Lamp solitary, Pike desk altarward scripting tome. Footfalls alerted. Presence closed. Ruth discourse, Jonah illuminated. Pike squinted. Laborer, intent, spouse bitter, hardened, soul salvation, avert worse. Worse auctioned, spousal severance. Pike arose stature, godly, Christian benevolent servants, blessed care. Ruth blessings considered bid. Position forgotten boy, lashable impudence. Placement, Jonah reiterated. Advanced deskward, placement spouseward. Till men decreed alternate. Pike bellward summoned, Jonah swifter, wrist seized. Meaning, Pike elevated, comprehension fear. Each Ruth bitter, unwitting pledge, collection. Terror widened, unhand, Jonah demanded. Tower chime functional, dragged stairward. Pike resisted, vocalized, Jonah superior dim church. Ascended spiral, pleas desperate. Summit bronze suspended, cord pendant. Mercy, Pike implored, authority evaporated. Godly. Likewise, Jonah responded, justice divine. Bound cord torso, cervical, beamed, bell toll announces essence. Pike horrified, impossible, Jonah hauled. Chime vibrated, Pike elevated arc apex. Secured, retreated. Pike suspended, asphyxiating swingward. Ruthward, Jonah declared, descended. Groundward, rehauled irregular. Nocturnal toll perplexed. Dawn, plaza assembled, towerward puzzled. Uninvestigated source. Isaiah peripheral, grim Jonah neared. Accomplished, your remnant, Jonah unanswered. Fog-shrouded escape, woodland spectral. Rear chime final, merging bayou symphony, amphibian croaks, frond sighs, pissing ripples. Trio eradicated, singular remains. Sugarmill forsaken, bayou margin, masonry decayed, vine entwined. Processed multitudes, cane, captive exertion machinery. Now mute, vermin, arachnid, reminiscence habitat. Jonah rusted component seated, blaze central former floor. Precipitation tapped partial ceiling, drips resonant vastness. Dew nights post-flight. Pike demise propagated. Additional enigma. Potent figure deceased. Isaiah paced entrance, vigilant. Separation expanded terminations, Jonah oblivious. Psyche Ruth immersed. Smiling, lamenting mansion plea. Extracted wrinkled roster fireglow, trio struck. Singular Charles Renard. Dawn prompt, Isaiah doorway, repose opportune. Jonah assented unmoving. Singular additional. Isaiah tensed. Post-final, outcome. Ruth recovery, Jonah plain. Unwilling, query suspended. Perimeter recheck, Isaiah grumbled obscurityward. Solitary, Jonah millward explored. Blaze shadows, machinery danced. Former inferno, cauldrons, ceaseless toil, lashes, spectral echoes. Office remnant, bureau intact. Drawers vermin, decayed sheets. Lowest, hide ledger cracked legible. Fireward opened. Listings, dates, values. Transactions wanting. Flipped casual. Halted respiration. Signature recognized, Ruth documents flowing. Identical Renard ledger. Isaiah Bell. Jonah stared, denial. Coincidence. Examined, matched, doubt infiltrated. Isaiah returned, precipitation shed. Clear, safe, halted ledger site, artifact. Isaiah evaded gaze, aged registry. Insignificant, your inscription. Jonah displayed. Signature Ruth papers Renard's. Shifted expression. Fear, acceptance. Deny, Jonah soft menace. Isaiah retreated. Explicable, bitter, Jonah accused. No, Isaiah defensive. Documents routine. False ownership transfers, hundreds liberated, spouse bitter, words stones, salvation, acquire papers northward timely. Deceiver, Jonah arose, ledger dropped. Utilized, killings camouflage, Isaiah doorward, effective. Killer distraction, 20 northward monthly. Ruth destination, Jonah demanded. Secure, Isaiah stated. Renard inaccessible, disclose. Drag, she selected. Jonah escape request. Duel, betrayal profound. Jonah lunged throat walled. Theft. Salvation, Isaiah strangled resisting. Yours attempted. Jonah compressed. Trust bestowed. Presently, Isaiah gasped. Ruth bears offspring. Protected expectant northward. Word stunned. Grip loosened. Offspring. Isaiah need abdomen. Jonah folded. Isaiah freed. Stumbled grinderward. Promise secrecy. Isaiah breathed. Pursuit peril. Cease, Jonah bellowed shadow swing. Crash, quiet. Jonah attentive motion. Destroy sacrifice construction, Isaiah external distant. Rationalize, salvage, avenge. Footfalls rainward. Jonah extricated machinery, Isaiah vanished storm. Hemorrhaging ocular, fireward. Ledger open, mocking, tears blood mingled. Offspring. Veracity, Jonah torched pages. Consumed rapidly. Liberty lies purchased, truth incinerates. Parish center nocturnal. Ruth severance locale. Memory scorched as shadowed traversed, concealed brim. Trio days postmill betrayal. Travel, concealment, strategy, block evil platform lanterns. Pale attired assembled eager. Rear pens clustered captives, adults, youth awaiting. Orbs lamplight animal trapped. Jonah circled obscurity structures. Traitor tone promised temperament. Merriment glass clinks, imbibing celebratory pre-bid. Sirs commence prime laborer youthful 20, youth blockward bound, offers avian predatory. Jonah coatward dew vessels strap suspended. Kerosene acquired earlier plantation pretext. Vendor indifferent. Nearer shadows. Initial concluded. Female forward. Streaked trader rotated display. Unmarred. Domestic juvenile trained. Jonah stage rear. Invisible tool-like. Uncorked poured soaking platform soil. Odor acute masked smoke spirits. Pensward oiled exteriors interstices. Elder internal sighted knotted subtle. Emptied. Glistened lamplight ebon. Flint pipe kind Isaiah gifted. Anger renewed. Veracity, Ruth offspring safe. Peril, auctioneer elevated. Quartet familial, unified or divided preference. Jonah ignited. Third spark all ground. Flames raced, ascended legs, leaped pens. Whales captives, buyer's realization. Jonah retreated observation. Panic plaza. Suited trampled escape. Trader abandoned mallet shoved. Pens ignited. Unexpected internals breached weakened, mutual aid scattered freedom chaos. Heat facial Jonah watched. Square inferno orange nocturnal hell. Bells alarm. Shouts water assistance deity. Jonah rearward. Isaiah soot-streaked coughed. Presence, search, cease excess. Insufficient Jonah flamesward. Stage, pens, prophet edifices consumed. Ruth alive, Isaiah seized. Sent Mary's cloister parish. Sisters aid northward women. Deception, Jonah knife partial. Oath life. Renard untouched. Jonah hesitated. Roar elevated. Adjacent ignited frames fuel. Drums distant. Militia. Accompany, Isaiah begged. Tardy, Jonah destructionward. Couldn't halt. Isaiah comprehended. Divine mercy. Gunfire plaza. Isaiah alley vanished, bullets splintered. Jonah opposite shadows, hiding challenging illumination. Narrow lane shouts pursuit. Igniter. Passage barrel scaled roofward. Slate vents scrambled. Halted elevation townward. Below square beacon. Spread roof sleeping. Magnificent horrific. Then ashes reunion murmured averted. Parish eastward. Veracity Ruth offspring awaited. Deception roster addition. Path determined. Final blaze glance darknessward glow diminishing stride. Morning radiance cypress golden misty soil patterns. Jonah clearing edge paused form travelaked. Ahead convent wooden belltower garden fenced. Windows dawn glowed. Approached limping wound. Fire marked forearm scorch smoke garb. Physical negligible chest burden. Ruth here Isaiah deception. Gate herb tending gray attired woman glanced. Orbs widened tattered weathered. Seeker. Spouse Ruth Jonah rough. Studied nodded. Await. Internal returned elder lined hardship kindness. Sister Josephine. Jonah presumed. Here gate opened. Anticipated arrival. Vegetable plots women's soilward glanced passage. Internal pristine white walls smooth floors. Therein Josephine gestured hall chamber. Jonah threshold fearful. Hatred transformation. Chamber modest bed chair. Ruth seated thinner eyes bright. Abdomen rounded dressward offspring internal. Seasons planting harvest. Jonah ghostly. Knees bedward hands hover afraid vanish. Ruth mine. Reached scars burns traced. Inflicted. Not inflicted voice broke. Performed. Reunion love horror words flowed separation events. Isaiah packed bitter pursuit square flames. Each revelation troubled. Isaiah conveyed, she stated, forged freedom. Sisters shielded. Child hours, veracity, Jonah shame, disbelief, complex, Ruth noted, risked multitudes, salvation us inclusive. Head bowed, terminations, Ruth, bitters solely, fire casualties unknown, tears free, memory provocation, unforgiveness, sacrifice, freedom, became feared, Jonah became created, distinction. External bell, frantic warning, Josephine doorward fear, militia roadward, tracked, conceal, Ruth Josephine, cellar culinary, Jonah arose resolute, peril avoidance, you child, Jonah no, Ruth begged, capture. Termination here, Jonah touched final, you child secure, priority, clung sobbing, execution, free demise not chattel, forehead lips kissed, tears mingled, released gently, exterior fateward. Yard hushed emergence, rifles leveled, ward mounted triumphant, fugitive arsonist, slayer devout, Jonah simple, erect wounds notwithstanding, surrender conditional, females innocent unharmed. Ward sneered, demand ineligible, desired Jonah, confession exchange peace, silence elongated, Ward assented, restrain, do dismounted cautious animal-like, unresisting bindings, wagonward, Ruth doorway, Josephine supported, tears yet strength, pride swelling. Recollect called, beyond creation, gaze held, wagon lurched, separating eternal love, final vision, morning light, palms cradling unborn. I trust this narrative resonated deeply with you. Show your appreciation by liking this content and joining the channel to catch the upcoming release without fail. I've carefully selected a pair of even more impactful tailies just for you. Enjoy the rest of your day.